We are leaving no stone unturned. Just like the Jets head coaching search, we are going to look at every possible option. On today's Cleveland Browns report, I want to look at 25 quarterbacks. Yeah, 25 for 2025 that could start for Cleveland in week 1. But there appears to be two paths for the Browns moving forward. It's either the rookie option or the veteran option. So what is your preference here? Do you want the Browns to draft a quarterback and make him the week 1 starter? Do you want to find a bridge quarterback and prioritize other things in the draft? I prefer the veteran route. It's not a great route, but I think it's better than this route. And right now I'm choosing between the lesser of two evils, if you will. So to start things off here, I want to look at the tier 1 free agent quarterbacks. These are guys that I think could be week 1 starters, no questions asked for the most part, to open up 2025. And I've got Sam Darnold and Russell Wilson. So let's talk about these two guys here, because Darnold is definitely an intriguing cat. He had a phenomenal year for much of the year with the Vikings, and I go back to Kevin O'Connell's comments about looking at the whole body of work and not just the last 2 games, but his last 2 games were definitely not 2 of the best games. And I think those 2 games probably cost him about $100 million, if I'm being honest. If he wins one of those 2 games, he's probably getting a fat contract. Likely not the case anymore, which actually might bring the Browns back in the mix for Sam Darnold because he could be affordable. As for Russell Wilson, Russ, I think, only has one path forward, and that is finding an opportunity to come back with the Steelers. Because at his age and the lack of wow plays from him, I'm struggling to see another team that's willing to turn the keys over to Russ to be their unquestioned week 1 starter. So when it comes to these 2 quarterbacks and my predictions and where they'll land here, I'm not putting a ton of time and effort because I don't think the Browns are going to pursue or, more importantly, land one of these 2 quarterbacks. I think Darnold is going to re-sign with the Vikings. I think Minnesota said it best, or Kevin O'Connell said it best when he said it's about looking at the whole body of work. I think they see a quarterback to help them win 14 games, and they're not going to let that guy walk out the building. So my guess is Darnold comes back. But this one is very much up in the air. As for Russ, I think he'll go back to the Steelers as well. He may not get as much money as he could on the open market from another team, but also I'm really struggling to think of what team is going to go, I want that Russell Wilson guy. Yeah, the guy who looks kind of washed and played really poorly down the stretch for the Steelers. The Steelers might bring him back because he might be their only best option. I mean, they're going to look at this video and think of the other options as well and go, well, at least we already have something kind of cooking a little bit with Russ, so we'll pair him with the rookie and see where it goes. So those are your probably best 2 tier 1 free agent quarterbacks. I don't think either one's going to end up in Cleveland. This next guy, I'm kind of doing a favor lumping him in with the other 2 tier 1 free agent QBs. It is Justin Fields. I feel like Fields is kind of in his own tier where he's not really with Darnold and Russ, but he's better than the other guys in tier 2 and tier 3. So let's take a closer look at Justin Fields because we know that he can make all the throws. Like, he can throw the ball into tight windows. He's got good downfield accuracy and velocity. We saw it at Columbus. We saw it in Chicago. But when he got to Pittsburgh, they used him in a very different role. They did not want the ball going in harm's way. Just 1 interception after starting the first, 6 games of the season. But he also has the ground attack to himself. 1,000-yard rusher in 2022. Pretty sure that might have broke Michael Vick's single-season rushing record. Anywho, Justin Fields, there's a lot to like, but there's also a lot to critique. And I'm guessing Kevin Stefanski is going to look at Fields and see a quarterback that takes a lot of sacks and commits a lot of turnovers. And those are 2 things that plagued the Browns the last 2 seasons. So they want to get away from being dead last in turnovers. Justin Fields is probably not the solution. So I could see him landing in Indianapolis, kind of pushing Anthony Richardson for that starting gig. I would not be opposed to the Browns adding Justin Fields, but my message for all the quarterbacks, all the free agent quarterbacks we're going to talk about today is, if you sign a free agent quarterback, there should be another signing of somewhat equal level, because they should not be in a spot where they can trust one of these quarterbacks by putting all their eggs in that basket, with the exception of Sam Darnold, because he's going to get a sizable contract. And my guess is it's not going to be the Browns that land him. Now let's look at the tier 2 free agent QBs. These are guys that I think are backups. And maybe they could poke through and put together some good starts for you, but I'm not confident in going, let's start this guy week 1, no questions about it. Maybe the most possible name of the bunch is Jameis. He had some good games with Cleveland. You can't deny that. Like, you got the Steelers game, the Ravens game, and the offense was better. There were a lot of yards, a lot of touchdowns, but also a lot of turnovers. And so does Kevin Stefanski want to just roll the dice on the 30 for 30 quarterback, the guy that threw 30 interceptions? I think Kevin Stefanski's first step in for fixing the offense is stop turning the ball over. We can't score points if we're on the bench because we gave the football to the other team. And Jameis, I don't think, is the solution to stopping turnovers. Now, one quarterback that could do a good job at that is Jacoby Brissett. Stefanski hired Tommy Rees as his offensive coordinator to help get the Browns back to the Stefanski offense, the play action, the under center, the 2 tight end sets. And Brissett did a very good job of this for 2/3 of the year back in 2022. So I could see the Browns going, well, let's bring back Brissett. We'll bring in another veteran. We'll bring on a rookie, and we'll see who emerges from that trio. But if it is Brissett that emerges, that's something that Stefanski has shown he can work with and work with pretty well as well. Now on to the tier 3 free agent QBs. Cooper Rush, Trey Lance from the Cowboys, Jimmy Garoppolo, Carson Wentz, and Marcus Mariota. These are guys that will be delighted to get a phone call. Cooper Rush deserves a phone call. The other one's delighted to get a phone call. Here's my analysis on all 5. Pass, 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 definitely pass, and a hard pass. That's my outlook on those 5. If I had to pick one, it'd probably be Cooper Rush because he's actually put together some good starts for the Cowboys, but I feel like that magic's going to live and die in Dallas, and he's going to get to Cleveland, and he's just going to be the 42nd, 43rd starting quarterback for this team, and he'll be another victim of name a random Browns quarterback, Cooper Rush. So I sure hope the plan is not one of those 5. You can bring one of those 5 in the same role that you brought Tyler Huntley, the 4th quarterback on the roster, and it's probably just to help you get through training camp and things like that. So now that we went through all the definite free agent quarterbacks, there are some other quarterbacks that could be free agents, some cut candidates. We have Kirk Cousins, who's been talked about a bunch, and Aaron Rodgers, who really hasn't been talked about a lot because I feel like Kirk is much closer to getting cut than Rodgers, although Rodgers, I think, is a prime candidate to get released as well. So let's take a closer look at these 2 cut candidates because surface level, they look a little bit more appealing, do they not, than some of the free agents that we talked about. So Kirk Cousins and Aaron Rodgers here. Both quarterbacks had down 2024 seasons. Cousins got off to, they're kind of like opposite paths. Cousins got off to a good start. Like, he set the Falcons' single game passing franchise record. And then as he got further away from the injury, he got worse. Meanwhile, Rodgers got off to a poor start, but towards the end of the year, he started to play better. But neither quarterback, I thought, played all that well. Neither quarterback looked like the guy that we all remember from the early 2010s and into the late 2010s. Like, that guy that we all seen play countless primetime games, I think is gone. For Cousins, I just can't really get past the way he played amid the Falcons' 4-game losing streak. 0 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. I've talked about Kirk on the show, and I've voiced my, I guess we'll call it support for the idea of bringing in Cousins. Yeah, I'll call it that. But it's always been under one stipulation. You better sign another quarterback as well. Because if you sign Kirk and you get the old reunion that him and Stefanski had in 2019, and you get it at an absolute bargain, vet minimum deal, because he'll sign on the vet min just like Russell Wilson did to kind of stick it to the Broncos a little bit, then you are the wisest GM in football, right? You are kind of like the Vikings. You signed Sam Darnold to a super cheap contract, and you got excellent quarterback play out of it. You somewhat won the lottery. But if you don't get the old Kirk Cousins, and that's the guy you put all of your eggs in that basket for, you are out of a job. I mean, no question about it. Barry, Stefanski, gone. So I'm okay with bringing on Kirk. But it has to be under the stipulation of another quarterback follows as well, and then probably one more. So we can spread our chips a little bit here. Overall, between these two cut candidates, I'd rather go with Cousins over Rodgers. That's mostly from a locker room standpoint. The circus that follows Rodgers, I'm not interested in. The guy's not good enough to be skipping mandatory minicamp for a trip to Cairo. I'm not interested in the Browns being a part of his next Netflix documentary. No thanks. I'll skip over that entire charade. I'd rather go with Cousins. My prediction is I think the Browns are going to pursue Cousins. I think they're going to look at their options and realize we don't have a ton of great options. So let's go with an affordable one. If the Falcons release him, these are cut candidates, and we'll bring on a rookie and another veteran. And if Kirk all of a sudden starts to look like the old Kirk, I mean, we got an incredible deal. And if he doesn't, we're out $1.75 million, $2 million. It's not really a big deal. Before we look at the other quarterback options in the draft, a quick shout out to our friends over at Game Time. Game Time has an awesome feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. One thing I really like about Game Time is their all-in pricing option. Toggling this feature shows the total upfront cost with no surprise fees at checkout. Plus, they offer the Game Time guarantee. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Create an account and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem that code CHAT Sports for $20 off your first purchase. It's a great way to go catch a Cavs game or any other sporting event in your area. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. In my estimation, and by most people's estimations, there's only two options at quarterback in round one. Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward. So let's talk about both quarterbacks as prospects, right? I won't jump the gun here. I won't start spilling my guts as to what I think the Browns should do. Let's just get to know these two prospects because I think far too often in the last 2-3 weeks or so, people have been really quick to either just say, draft a quarterback, I don't care which one, or don't take a quarterback. Let's get to know these guys here, okay? So you can look at their stats over 2024, but we should know that college stats for quarterbacks is not an actual indicator for how successful they'll be at the next level. But a couple of things do jump out to me here. One, Shedeur's accuracy, 74% completion. I mean, that has to be something that we take notice of. He's got a very accurate arm. He puts the ball into tight spots. For Cam Ward, it's the passing yards, right? 4,300 yards and tacking on some on the ground, but this is another reminder of college stats are dumb because they subtract sacks from rushing yards. Anywho, back to Ward. 6'2", 223 pounds. He's a little bit on the older side, which is a little bit of a turnoff usually for AB, but exceptions can be made, and they've been made before for guys. Cedric Tillman was a little bit on the older side as well, but he's a gunslinger. If you're looking for a Brett Favre-type quarterback, he's your man. Now, in a perfect world, you can get the gunslinger without the turnovers. But now you're changing the makeup of Ward, right? Now you're trying to change him as a quarterback. You're trying to clip his wings a little bit. And when has that ever really worked? The turnovers are the issue. Not just the turnovers, but the turnover-worthy plays. Ward kind of plays like a hero version of football, where he's going to try and do everything by himself. He's going to hold on to the ball. He's going to run around the field, and he's going to try and throw the ball with no care in the world. And if it's caught, great. If not, oh well. You can get away with that in the ACC. You can't against the Steelers and the Ravens twice a season. They will pick this guy apart. So their turnover-worthy plays have to go down. And if a coach thinks they can get that out of him, then he can make a really good prospect. But that's not an easy thing to do. Now let's talk about Shedeur Sanders and his makeup of a quarterback. Because like I said, he's very accurate. That's the first thing that jumps out to me here when watching his tape and reading up on him. But he holds on to the ball for an eternity. And he takes a lot of sacks. And I'm not sure if that's something Stefanski is looking to get in bed with after having his quarterbacks be sacked the second most in a 3-win campaign. So Sanders, to me, definitely kind of has the makeup of a Stefanski quarterback, play action under center, 2 tight ends. But the overall takeaway I've got on both these quarterbacks here is neither one to me has top 3 draft pick feel. Neither one to me has shown incredible traits of a top 3 selected quarterback that can help elevate a bit of a depleted roster. Like, take Andrew Luck, for example. And this is me, cherry picking here, but that was a Colts team that won 1 game. Andrew Luck steps in there, and he's that good that very quickly they've got themselves back on track. We're talking about a 3-win Browns team here. I don't think Ward or Sanders have the traits to get things back on track. I think if they went to a team in round 2 that did not expect them to be immediate starters and success stories for them, they could be successful. I don't think that's going to happen with them in Cleveland. That's one of the biggest reasons why. The other reason why I don't want the Browns, and now I'm just going to spill my guts here, to take one of these 2 quarterbacks at second overall, the red flags are just too alarming for me to overlook for the second overall pick. If a player has some red flags and we're talking the 50th pick, okay, beggars can't be choosers, take the good with the bad. You're picking second. You've got your pick of the litter, essentially. You should get the second best player in the draft. I don't think Ward or Sanders are even top 10, top 15 players in this draft. I think you could come up with 25 players better than Shedeur Sanders. There's a hot take right there. Clip it. We'll see how that ages in 3 or 4 years. So I personally value the second overall pick enough where I don't want to just take insert quarterback like a Mad Lib. I want to take the right quarterback because you're picking second. And so if the right quarterback is Cam Ward, okay. But if he goes to the Titans, then I'm not just going to take the sloppy seconds here. So pick a quarterback for me. Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward. If you were making the selection, I would go with Ward because I feel like he does have enough incredible traits where I'm like, hey, that's something that you can really build off of if you just nip and tuck some of the other issues. But Sanders, I feel like, is a little bit of a Geno Smith style quarterback. Geno's a good starter. Geno's not going second overall in a redraft. On to some day 2 quarterback prospects here. If you are kind of like me where it's like, let's get Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter, trade back, whatever, just don't do quarterback in round 1, and you want to go find a quarterback in round 2 or round 3, here are 5 options. Jackson Dart, Jalen Milroe, Quinn Ewers, Will Howard, Kyle McCord. If I had to rank these 5, I'd probably go, this is probably going to change, but for now, Jackson Dart, then Kyle McCord, then Will Howard, then Quinn Ewers, but you can flip-flop those 2, and Jalen Milroe is dead last. So the 3 that jump out to me the most, Dart, Howard, and McCord. Let's get ourselves familiar with these 3 because if the Browns don't go quarterback in round 1, they are probably going to circle back for one of those 5 guys in day 2 of the draft. So when I look at Jackson Dart's profile, what I see is a quarterback that can make some incredible plays. I also see a quarterback that makes some really dumb plays. But the highs for the 3 quarterbacks, no one's got a higher than Dart. So that's kind of the quick spiel on Jackson Dart. As for Will Howard, the stats in the resume look really nice, and he has some really nice throws. He's put the ball into tight windows with some good touch. There's also being the quarterback for Ohio State, and look at all the receivers. I mean, Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, JSN, Marvin Harrison Jr. And that's just the guys in the NFL right now. The current trio is all going to go to the NFL. My suspicion is, we've seen how Fields has played in the NFL because there's open and then there's, as I like to say, Ohio State open. And Howard, I don't think, was better than Justin Fields. Different makeups, but I'm not super upbeat on Howard at the next level. And then there's Kyle McCord, who I know Buckeyes fans watching do not want to take. Bit of an X situation here. I'll tell you what. Teams are going to be higher on Kyle McCord come April than you might realize. Don't be surprised if Kyle McCord is like the 3rd or 4th quarterback taken in this draft. So just brace yourself for that. But I thought there was a lot to like in his lone season at Syracuse. And then as for day 3 quarterback targets, let's say some way, somehow the Browns don't take one in days 1 or day 2. Here are 3 names to watch for. If I had to circle or zoom in on one, I'm going to go with the Hoosier. Give me Curtis Rourke. I thought his one season as the starter for IU was filled with a lot of really good plays, and he wasn't working with a plethora of incredible NFL talent. So for a 5th, 6th, 7th round draft pick, whatever it might be, I'm willing to, take a chance on him for those 3 guys right there. But those are the 25 options the Browns could look at for 2025. Now I want to get your prediction, though. Who's going to be the Browns' Week 1 starter? I'll come back to this Week 1 in September, see if anyone got it right. Shoot your shot down below. To conclude today's video, we are going to pick a card. Which card would you like to go with, Mr. Barkus?
Let's see. Let's go 9 of clubs.
9 of clubs. I'm going to go 2 of diamonds. No, 5 of spades. 5 of spades. Appreciate everyone for watching. Hope you guys have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you all later.